Welcome, seekers of hidden lore, to a tale of pride, betrayal, and the relentless tides of fate. Today we unravel the secrets of the Akallabêth, the tragic account of Númenor's downfall preserved in the annals of the Silmarillion. Beyond the well-trodden path of history lies a deeper story, shrouded in mystery, one of divine punishment, deception, and the consequences of defying the natural order. What truths did Tolkien veil beneath his prose? And what warnings does the tale of Númenor whisper to those who dare listen? The rise of Númenor was nothing short of legendary. In the year 32 of the Second Age, the island was raised from the depths of Belegir as a gift from the Valar to the Edain, those men who had fought against Morgoth in the First Age. Númenor was a land unlike any other, a paradise where the descendants of the Edain flourished under skies of endless blue. Elros, the half-elven, chose the fate of men and became its first king, Tar Minior. His line would endure for millennia, ruling in wisdom, as the Númenorians grew mighty in knowledge and craft. They were blessed with long life, far beyond that of lesser men, and their ships came to master the seas. But even in their golden age, the seeds of downfall were sown. The ban of the Valar forbade the Númenorians from sailing westward to Aman, the Undying Lands, where the immortal elves still dwelt. The gift of the Valar was long life, but not endless life, and with each passing generation, fear of death grew within the hearts of men. By the time of Tar Atanamir in the Second Age, 2221, the first open murmurs of discontent were heard. Why should they, the greatest of men, be denied immortality? Why should they not claim the West for themselves? And here the tale takes a darker turn. In the shadow of their growing might, the Númenorians turned their gaze eastward. Once noble mariners, they became conquerors, subjugating the lands of Middle-earth and exacting tribute from lesser men. They built great havens along the coasts, Umbar, Londare, and established dominions that spoke of power, but not of wisdom. The Valar watched in silence, unwilling to intervene, but the enemy, ever watchful, saw his chance. It was in the Second Age, 3261, that Ar-Pharazôn, the mightiest and most arrogant of Númenor's kings, did the unthinkable. When whispers came of Sauron rising again in Middle-earth, he resolved to humble the Dark Lord himself. With an armada that darkened the seas, he landed in Middle-earth and marched upon Sauron's stronghold. But Sauron, cunning beyond measure, did not resist. He humbled himself before the king of Númenor, feigning surrender. With silver tongue and poisoned words, he wove a new web of deceit, one far more insidious than war. What followed was not merely the corruption of a king, but the perversion of an entire people. By Second Age 3262, Sauron had been taken to Númenor, not as a prisoner, but as an advisor. It was he who rekindled their fear of mortality, who whispered of the Valar's supposed betrayal, and who kindled the fires of rebellion. The faithful, those still loyal to the Valar, watched in horror as the sacred temples of Eru were torn down and new altars rose in their place, altars built for the worship of Morgoth. And so, in the year Second Age, 3319, Ar-Pharazôn led the great armament to defy the ban. What happened next was a cataclysm unlike any other, a reckoning written in the very bones of the world itself. As Ar-Pharazôn's fleet approached the Undying Lands, the very air grew heavy with an unnatural stillness. The sky darkened, and the waves, once obedient to the might of Númenor's ships, trembled with the weight of divine wrath. It is said that when the prows of his warships touched the shores of Aman, Manwë, High King of the Valar, at last rose from his silent throne upon Taniquetil. No host of the Valar came forth to meet the King of Númenor. No spears, no swords, no battle cries. Instead, Manwë called upon Eru Ilúvatar himself, and the world was changed. Then came the great ruin. The seas roared and the land was riven asunder. A chasm, deep and vast, swallowed Ar-Pharazôn and his host, entombing them beneath the earth in an eternal prison. But this was only the beginning. The very shape of Ardar was altered. In a single moment, the world was bent. no longer flat but round, forever sealing Aman beyond the reach of mortals. And Númenor, the once mighty kingdom, was unmade. The island, with all its splendor, its towering cities, and its people, was swallowed by the sea. The proud temples, built in defiance of the Valar, crumbled as the waves consumed them. The palace of Ahmenelos fell into ruin, its golden domes vanishing beneath the churning waters, and with it, the legacy of the kings of Westernesse was drowned. Yet not all were lost to the abyss. The faithful, those who had heeded the warnings of the Valar and had refused to worship Morgoth, fled before the doom came upon them. Led by Elendil and his sons, Isildur and Anarion, they set sail upon 9 ships, guided by the stars and the grace of the Valar. Through storm and shadow they endured until at last they made landfall upon the shores of Middle-earth. There, in the lands of Gondor and Arnor, they would build a new legacy, one that would endure for an age. But the tale does not end there, for the hidden truths of Númenor's downfall stretch beyond mere punishment. The question remains, why did Eru Ilúvatar intervene directly? The Valar, though mighty, had never before called upon his power to reshape the very world. Even in the darkest days of Morgoth's dominion, when all of Beleriand was sundered, Ilúvatar had not moved in such a way. Some scholars believe that Ar-Pharazôn's actions threatened the very balance of Arda, that had he conquered Aman, the natural order would have been broken, and the fate of men already uncertain would have unraveled. Others whisper that Sauron, in his final deception, had aimed to do more than merely corrupt Númenor. He had sought to unmake the ban entirely, to bring the shadow even to the undying lands themselves. And what of Sauron? It is said that as the great waves swallowed Númenor, his body was destroyed and he was stripped of his fair form, never again able to appear as he once had. Yet he did not perish. His spirit fled, wounded and weakened, but undying. He returned to Middle-earth, where he would forge a new dominion, setting into motion the events that would lead to the War of the Last Alliance. Thus, the doom of Númenor was not merely the fall of a kingdom. It was the turning of an age, the breaking of an order that had stood since the beginning of the world. And though Númenor is no more, its echoes remain. In the ruins of Umbar, where the black Númenorians still whispered of their lost glory. In the blood of the Dunedain, who carried the memory of their forebears into the Third Age. And in the stars above, where the lost Isle of Westernesse is said to still exist beyond the circles of the world, hidden from mortal eyes. But one last question lingers, one that few dare to ask. Did Ar-Pharazôn truly perish, or does he yet wait in the dark halls beneath the earth, dreaming of a time when he may rise once more? The fate of Ar-Pharazôn remains one of the greatest mysteries of Númenor's downfall. The Akallabêth tells us that he and his host were buried beneath the collapsing land, entombed in a great chasm, never to return. But is this truly the end of the last king of Númenor? Or does his story linger beyond the written histories, lost in the depths of legend? It is said that when the earth split asunder, Ar-Pharazôn and his mightiest warriors were not slain, nor did they drown like the rest of Númenor's people. Instead, they were trapped in a timeless prison beneath the world, a fate akin to that of Morgoth himself. The implication is unsettling. If Ar-Pharazôn yet endures, is he aware of the ages passing above him? Does he dream of the world he once sought to claim? Or has he fallen into the same endless oblivion that holds the fallen Dark Lord beyond the doors of night? Some theories suggest that his fate is tied to prophecy. In the Dagor-Dagorath, the final battle foretold in the deepest accounts of elven lore, it is said that Morgoth will break through the walls of night and return to Arda, seeking to remake it in his own image. If this prophecy is true, could Ar-Pharazôn and his fallen host rise with him? Or would they remain forever lost, buried beneath the bones of the world, their ambition turned to dust? Yet even if the last king of Númenor is truly gone, the remnants of his legacy persist. The Black Númenorians, those who survived the downfall and refused to align with Elendil's line, established their own dominions in the south. Umbar became a haven for those who still clung to the old ways, worshipping the darkness that had once whispered from Sauron's lips. Their hatred of the Dunedain and of the Valar who had struck down their kingdom would fester for millennia, shaping the conflicts of later ages. But there are more subtle echoes of Númenor's fall. The corruption that Sauron planted in their hearts did not die with the island. It took root in Middle-earth. Even among the Dunedain who sought to restore the greatness of their ancestors, the fear of death remained. It was this fear that would lead to the slow decline of Gondor as the kings grew prideful, and later as the stewards clung to power, unwilling to relinquish their rule. The same fear that drove Ar-Pharazôn to defy the Valar would one day find its reflection in Denethor, who, in the face of defeat, chose despair over hope. And then there are the whispers of Númenor's true fate. The Akallabêth tells us that it was utterly destroyed, wiped from existence by the will of Uru Ilúvatar. Yet some believe that the island was not erased, but merely removed, lifted beyond the reach of mortals, hidden within the unseen realm. The faithful spoke of Avalona, the easternmost haven of the elves upon Tol Eressëa, and some claimed that from its shores, on the clearest of days, they could still glimpse the peak of Men el Tolma rising above the waves. Could it be that Númenor still exists beyond the circles of the world, waiting for a time when it might be restored? Or is this merely the longing of those who refuse to accept the finality of its fate? The doom of Númenor is more than the destruction of a kingdom. It is a warning, a parable woven into the very fabric of Arda. It is the tale of what happens when pride overshadows wisdom, when power is mistaken for divinity, and when fear leads even the greatest of men to ruin. It is a story that, in Tolkien's world, echoes time and time again, from the fall of Gondolin to the corruption of Saruman, and even to the One Ring itself, which offered power beyond mortal reach, but at an unspeakable cost. And so we are left with this question. Is the fate of Númenor unique, or is it a cycle destined to repeat? If men should once again grow mighty, if they should once more seek to claim that which is beyond their grasp, will another great wave rise to sweep them away? The story of Númenor may be lost beneath the waves, but its lessons remain, for those wise enough to heed them. Though Númenor has long vanished beneath the waves, its echoes persist, whispering through the ages like a half-forgotten song. The downfall of Westernesse was not merely an event, it was a turning point in the history of Arda, a fracture in the destiny of men that would shape all that followed. Yet, even in ruin, Númenor's legacy endured, carried forth by those who had survived its wrath. Elendil and his sons, Isildur and Anarion, brought with them the last remnants of Númenor's wisdom and culture, establishing the kingdoms of Arnor in the north and Gondor in the south. But they also bore the weight of their people's sorrow, a grief that never fully faded. Though they remained faithful to the Valar, they could never return to the land of their ancestors, nor set foot upon the undying shores. Instead, they built their cities as reflections of what was lost. Minas Anor and Minas Ithil, echoes of Armanelos. Osgiliath, a reminder of Númenor's splendor. The white tree, a symbol of their heritage, was planted in their new realm, a fragile link to an age now buried beneath the sea. But for all their wisdom, the heirs of Elendil could not escape the curse of time. The Dunedain, once long-lived and mighty, found their days growing shorter as the years passed. The fear of mortality, which had once driven Ar-Pharazôn to his folly, began to take root even among the faithful. In Gondor, the blood of Númenor remained strong for many generations, but pride and ambition once more led to decline. Kings fell into shadow, and the realm of men, which had once rivaled the glories of the Eldar, diminished. By the time of the War of the Ring, the last remnants of Númenor's power lay in the hands of a scattered few, rangers wandering the wilds, their people dwindling into myth. Yet Númenor was not entirely forgotten. In secret places, whispers persisted of its lost grandeur, and some even claimed that the downfall was not as final as it seemed. The most tantalizing of these legends speaks of Amandil, the father of Elendil, who set sail for Aman in a desperate attempt to plead with the Valar before Númenor's ruin. Unlike Ar-Pharazôn, Amandil sought no conquest, only mercy. Did he reach the Undying Lands before the doom fell? No tale tells of his fate, yet some believe that he was granted passage, that in the last days of Númenor, one final plea was heard. And what of Númenor itself? While the island was swallowed by the sea, there are those who claim that it was not wholly lost. In some accounts, it is said that in the farthest west, beyond even the sight of elves, a place remains where the land of Númenor still lingers, a realm hidden from mortal eyes, awaiting a time when it may rise again. Some believe that those who are truly pure of heart may, in their final moments, glimpse the lost shores of Westernesse before passing beyond the circles of the world. Others speak of a prophecy, that one day when the world is remade, Númenor will be restored, cleansed of its former pride, and the children of Elros will once more walk its shores. But perhaps the greatest lesson of Númenor is not found in prophecy or lost lands. It is found in the choices of those who came after. Aragorn, the last true heir of Númenor's kings, faced the same fear that had haunted his ancestors, the fear of death. Yet, unlike Ar-Pharazôn, he did not seek to defy it. Instead, he embraced his fate, abdicating his throne when the time came and laying himself to rest, as the kings of old once did. In doing so, he broke the cycle, proving that wisdom, not power, was the true inheritance of Númenor. And so, the tale of Númenor is not merely one of loss, but of redemption. Though the island itself may never rise again, its legacy endures in the deeds of those who remember its fall. It is a warning, a lesson, and a beacon, a reminder that even the greatest of kingdoms can be undone by pride, but that wisdom and humility can restore what was lost. So long as there are those who still tell the tale of the downfall, Númenor will never truly be forgotten. And perhaps, in some distant age, when the stars align and the world is remade, the name of Westernesse will be spoken once more, not in sorrow, but in hope.